Throughout the entire universe, there was nothing. Then suddenly, there was something that came out of nothing. Nothing became something of the universe. Really? Maybe not. What is the reality? Does something really come out of nothing? Alhamdulillah, we're coming to you almost live all the way from right here in Southern California. That's right. And in our program tonight, we've got some very interesting topics. I'd like to encourage you to stay tuned and stay guided with Guidus TV. Tonight we're going to be talking about the science of Islam. Now, usually when you talk about a religion, there's really nothing about science involved. Even some of them use the word science in their religion. Until you start looking at it, it doesn't stack up with real science, real medicine, real astronomy, or anything else for that matter. However, when we talk about Islam, Islam is the complete and total surrender to the only God. So if there is a God, if there is one who created everything, which is defined in the Quran as Allah, the creator and sustainer of everything. He exists before there was creation, before there was a universe. Then he brings it into being. He puts people here like you and me, and then he guides us if we want to be guided. However, if somebody doesn't want to be guided, they won't be, because as Allah says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, لا إكراه في الدين. So there is no compulsion whatsoever in Islam. No. That's just how it works. If you don't want to be guided, you won't be. But if you want to be guided, then talk to the one who created you. Simple. It's real simple. And after that, let's talk about science, the science of Islam, the science that we find in the Quran, the science that we found with Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, over 1,400 years ago. And what happens when scientists see, hear, and understand the teachings coming from Muhammad 1,400 years ago? A real scientist who is open to anything, and scientists are supposed to be open-minded, open thoughts, ready to receive, right or wrong. So, first of all, when we start talking about this, you really need to understand this is being translated to English right now. So no matter what I say or what I try to show you, if it doesn't make sense, most likely it's because the way that I'm presenting it, maybe the words that I'm choosing to use, the words that are being translated from Arabic to English. That doesn't mean that everybody speaks Arabic always makes sense, that for sure. But what it does mean is that it increases the opportunity for misunderstanding as soon as you translate anything from one language to another. And this is one of the reasons why we like to use a lot of descriptions when we try to present even one word from the Arabic language. Let me just give you one idea about that. When in the Quran we're asking God to guide us, Ihdina Sirata Mustaqim, we translate that as guide us to the straight path. But oftentimes we have to add more words to it, more words to that. Then in the very next surah or chapter of the Quran, we find there is something telling us how to get guided. And we have a doctor is letting us know he's here. Yeah, okay, let me put him on that. All right. All right. I was just going to introduce you, but okay. So we have Dr. Sultan who is with us. He's in St. Louis, Missouri right now. And let me see if we can get that up there. This picture is not working real good tonight. I don't know why. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, happy to be with you.
MashaAllah. What I would like for you to kind of help us with this right now, we're talking about translating. Anytime you translate from one language to another, you're going to lose some of the authenticity and you're going to gain some problems. Is that true or false?
That's 100% true. Sometimes you cannot even come close to translation per verbatim. So that's why you have to see what the actual meaning are, and then you express it in the language you're trying to translate. But it can't match the original.
All right. For instance, you have Urdu and English. Is that right?
Yes.
What other languages do you have?
In Pakistan, we have Pashto in the north part. In the southern part, we have Sindhi. In the middle part, we have Urdu, which is a national language all over. But the real language is Punjabi language. And then there are so many dialects of each Punjabi and also Sindhi, which is in the south part of Pakistan.
For the most part, I think maybe people would pretty much understand each other in your country. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
But is it possible that even though you're living in the same country with similar language, when you try to translate, that things can get off-centered? Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I'll give you a very wonderful example. Let's say that I'm meeting with you right now. I'm really exuberant to meet with you. So in Urdu, I will say, I'll send Urdu first. Aapko dekh ke mera dil baag ho gaya. Means that I'm meeting you. If I literally translate, it's become garden and garden. Means full of flower. It's so good, so as it feels good in a garden full of all the flowers, you see. But you can't translate it into English. My heart has become garden and garden meeting you. So we say, I'm so excited, I'm so exuberant, I'm so enjoying your company, because just my heart is full of love and affection and whatever.
Yes, yes, I get what you're saying. What happens if you try to translate even some simple terms from Arabic to Urdu and then try to translate it from the Urdu to the English? That really complicates it, right?
That's 100% true.
And these are
Right.
languages of being spoken today in Arab countries. They speak Arabic. And in Urdu-speaking countries, they speak Urdu. Even in India, you find people speaking Urdu. Is that right?
That's right.
So if we hear people, even in here in America, speaking so-called English, then we go to England, where obviously that's where English came from. And when I get over there, sometimes I look at them and like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. This shall I tell you a little quick story? Something happened to me while I was in England.
Yeah,
Okay,
love to.
well, I was there. It was at Christmas time, maybe almost 20 years ago, and I got stuck. I was on my way to Africa or Arabia somewhere, but there was a problem on my passport. Was not having enough room to put the full page on it or
Understand.
something, and so they were holding me up for about a week. And all the time I was there, I had this keen observation of the differences between what we use for description of how you move or where you go or the nouns and even the verbs. I was surprised. So on Friday, we go for the sermon, the Juma khutbah on Friday. So I go to the concierge desk where you get the information, where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and I asked them. They said, I asked them where do I go for the Juma khutbah, and he said something to me, and it was English, and I was like, huh, what? So there was a brother standing next to him.
Mhm.
All right. And he said what he means is you take the subway over to take the lift or the elevator down and get the subway and go over to this place. And then he said, you know what? I'm a Muslim and I'll just take you there myself. So he took me to the beautiful masjid there, and we had the Juma, and we came back, and it struck me when I was thinking about this. You know what? I asked a person from India to translate English to American English, and he could do it. Is that?
So
Because
interesting.
he used the word.
Yes,
You take the lift to the loop.
yeah.
What's the what do they call the train or the subway? What do they call that?
uh, Tube.
The tube.
They call
Yeah,
it.
take the
Yeah.
lift to the tube. And I was thinking,
Yeah.
lift. What the heck
Yeah.
is a lift? Oh, the
Yeah.
elevator. Oh, and what's the tube?
Yeah.
What tube? I'm looking on the ground for a tube, you know.
Yeah, see,
So
terminology. See, when I came to United States, the same thing happened to me. In the flashlights, we call it a battery. In English, in British English, we call it battery. That's what we used to call. So I come to the hospital, and I asked for the battery, or they couldn't understand what I was talking about because the flashlight, I got to examine the patient, so I need flashlight. You see, so I soon got the message that it is a flashlight. And similarly, there are some other interesting words
so
that they use in British, but
in
not here.
England they say battery when they mean
Yeah,
flashlight.
exactly.
Wow, I didn't. You know, man, I've been there many times, but I guess I never needed a flashlight. Now I know.
Yeah.
Next time I go, I'll be sure to ask for a battery instead of a flashlight. I'm gonna feel funny
Right.
about that one. I can't ask for a battery because if they just reach over and grab me a D cell or a double A and say, "Here you go." All right. So my point about all of this really is
Yeah.
for our viewers to understand that whenever we talk about the science of Islam, you really need to know several things. What the Arabic words were and how they were understood at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. Because even in this last century, there were scholars who were trying to translate something and make it look like it was relevant to the time. And if they would have stay with the actual meaning of the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they would have been more on the target, because He clearly stated some of the things that we know today. Now, imagine if you would have said 50 years ago, well, let's say 70 years ago, all right? If you said somebody was going to the moon, they would just think that this is, you're just making some kind of similitude. You're not really talking about going to the moon because that's impossible. Nobody has ever been outside the Earth's atmosphere. And that's just 70 years ago. Now, today, if you said going to the moon, oh, NASA. I used to work for NASA a long time ago, and I saw those changes coming in. And people would ask me at the time, I lived in Houston, Texas, and people would ask me at the time, is that real? Is that really real? You guys really think you're going to send something up to the moon? Come on. So, no, it's for real. So, you're just wasting money, right? No. It's an amazing thing.
Tell you something very interesting in this regards. You see, when the news came that the man could fly and the plane came, some priest came running out of the church and said, no, that is impossible. The flight is only assigned to the angels. The human can't fly. It's the angel who can only fly, denying the fact that the man was able to fly.
Even in an airplane, huh?
I mean, we talked about when the airplane was first invented. Now everyone knows that man can fly. But when the initial, just like initial report came, the man landing on the moon, there's still a lot of people who deny that the man landed on the moon, because they say, the flag, the American flag they put down over there, it was waving. Well, there's no air, winds blowing on the moon. That's what they believe. I don't know whether there are winds on the moon or not, but that's what they said. But that's why it is a fake landing. There was not a real landing on the moon.
Wow. Well, actually, the first man to fly, the first one who ever tried to attempt to fly, that was successful at it, I say successful, although he didn't survive it very good, he got hurt really, really bad, was a Muslim in Spain about 800 years ago. Did you know about that?
No, I did not know about that, no. Yeah. I only know about the Wright brothers.
No, they were not first. They weren't even really the first in the world. America wants everybody to think that, but there were some other flights that took place before that. But it's okay. I mean, I don't want to get into the depth of that. Right. But I think it was in Barcelona. I'm not sure. Let me just see. I remember I was looking for it on the internet just now, but I'm not finding it to whip it out real quick. But the first one, it was a Muslim and he was using the verse in Surah Rahman to try to figure out how to go out of Earth's atmosphere, because he understood that in a much more broader attempt, because he understood it said you will never go outside of the Earth's atmosphere except, and when you have an exception, then in Arabic that you really need to focus on whether or not that meant no way possible, or if there is some kind of an exception. And of course the exception is with a huge power. And it says, Illa bi Sultan. And your last name is Sultan, right?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
And if you've studied your own name, you know that that's a position that's held by people who have the power over other people. Is that true?
That is true. The kingdom king, the ruler.
All right.
Uh,
So with that in mind, when somebody says Ilabi Sultan, that and you're not saying, well, that's not, the only person that can fly is the one who's the sultan of a community. Okay, so your leader, your emperor, your sultan, he can get on, on his high horse and just jump up and he'll go outside of the Earth's atmosphere. It doesn't make any sense either. But when you say the meaning behind the word sultan is it was understood at that time was a great, huge power. Now, my job at NASA was to clean the pipes that deliver the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen to the those cylinders that are attached to the rocket. I don't even remember what we called them, but there's giant cylinders that you see when they go up, 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 and then you see those break off. And once they're empty, they don't need them anymore, so they drop the weight, and it just falls. So that structure that we worked in was a long pipeline that had to be totally cleaned of any carbon, because if it would connect with any carbon while it's passing through, it could explode, and it would be a huge explosion. So what we would do is go through there and shut off all the light to it with usually visqueen or black plastic over the opening, and then we would put on this special outfit that we had to wear because we were spraying caustic in there to get rid of that, and we used black light. So all of that, and this was something that we did every day, every day, every day. We had a contract to do this for NASA. And subhanAllah, imagine now that all of this is standing upright with clearance over my head, because this pipe was that big. And imagine how long it was, and it has to deliver that hydrogen or oxygen all the way to those cylinders. So this is an amazing thing, because when we buy our fuel for the car, we buy it by the gallon or by the liter. Is that right?
Exactly.
So whenever we are fueling up this rocket ship to send it up, it doesn't fuel right away. We might get impatient and say, it took me 10 minutes to pump all the gas into my car. This could take days to fill up these cylinders. Days. And we weren't talking about liters. Nobody ever mentioned gallons or liters. We only talked about the tons of fuel that we were putting in there. How many tons of fuel? So that, yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That how much, you see the rocket take off, how much thrust it has. Oh boy, all the fumes are coming out, and with what a splendor it rises. So yes, Allah Ta'ala was right that just you can leave the gravity of Earth, but you need a heck lot of force to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, there's another point too, that whenever we're talking about Christianity and Islam, there are a lot of similarities between Islam and Christianity, because they came from the same source. However, whenever you translate, and that's Christianity has been translated from Aramaic, the original language of Jesus. I'm talking about the New Testament now. The New Testament of Jesus was translated from Aramaic. The ancient Hebrew is what got translated over into the Latin as well. And from Latin, they tried to translate it into other languages. And then they went back in 1600s to try to go back to the Koine Greek, because there was non-existent. There are no existing texts to show. But even though, and we translate English, translate the Arabic to English for the Quran and the Sunnah, so there could be, and we're not criticizing, we're just giving a demonstration, and here we go. I'm just showing people right now on the air. If you are watching, monitoring it, you can tell that what we're doing is just giving people an idea where we're the same exactly, that there's only one God, and we're the totally different when it was saying that Eve is responsible for Adam's fall from grace, and we don't have that. So, and that's just one many examples. But now that we've got another guest, I think it's time for me to introduce them. And we have Dr. Adel, who is with us all the way in Southern Florida.
Tampa.
Tampa, yes, Tampa, not Tallahassee.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. We're going to give you a boost of energy, inshallah.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I'm not fasting today, so.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. How's everybody?
Yes, alhamdulillah. Everybody's doing good. We're all keeping busy. And yeah. So, by the way, the program today, I was a little bit late in getting it going, so I need to take time now to tell everybody, guys, stay tuned and stay guided with Guidance TV, because we do have to take this little short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned. Throughout the entire universe, there was nothing. Then suddenly, there was something that came out of nothing. Nothing became something of the universe. Really? Maybe not. What is the reality? Does something really come out of nothing? Okay, I told you we'd be right back, and here we are. And I'd like to just kind of wind up this story about everything coming out of nothing, because there has to be a source for anything. Anytime there is any kind of action, there has to be an energy for that action. And anytime that you see something happen, that means there's a cause for the effect. This is known in simple science. Anytime there is any kind of an action, there has to be a cause for every effect. So with that in mind, the universe cannot of itself create itself. In other words, there's no universe at all. There's nothing there, and then suddenly there's a universe. Doesn't work. No matter how small or how great it is, or what kind of motivation it has, all of that has to be a result of a cause. And what is the cause? And that's what we want to ask people about. We got a phone call here. Doctor, I'm going to turn it over to you right now and then give you a chance to talk while I answer the phone. Inshallah, go ahead.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. So tonight, inshallah, we're trying to carry on the same humanistic approach that carried on the Muslim legacy. And this is during the ruling of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Yesterday we talked about the old Jewish man that was asking for financial assistance, and the Khalifa Umar, the ruler of the time, he came and took his hand and gave him out of his own pocket, and also went to the Treasury Department and issued him a ongoing pension, if you would, that will support him, and promised to fulfill all his needs. Another time, Umar was walking in the Medina, and he was looking at this woman that keeps falling and walking in, kind of like almost very unstable on her feet and falling. He said, what poor woman? What's going on? Do you know who's this? So his son Abdullah was going with his dad Umar ibn Khattab and said, I said, أما تعرفها يا أمير المؤمنين? Don't you know her, Amir al-Mu'minin? That he's talking to his dad in the official kind of title. Said, no, I don't. And then so his son responded, هذه إحدى بناتك. This is one of your daughters that is going on. What's wrong with what's happening? What went on with her? Well, in son منعك ما عندك. She did not have. She only had limited resources, and that was everything was restricted. And Omar told his son, وَإِنَّكَ وَاللَّهِ مَا لَكَ عِنْدِي غَيْرَ سَهْمِكَ. You don't have any penny except what Allah has allotted you and as your own share, just like everybody else. This is Kitabullahi bayni wa baynakum. This is the book of Allah. It stands between me and my own family, my own son and daughter. No exceptions, no favoritism, even from own family, and he is the ruler of the world at that time. There was a caravan of merchants that came to Medina, and there were women and children. And Omar came to Abdurrahman ibn Auf, would you please guard them tonight, with me? So they came and saw on, and find no problem. So as Omar was start hearing crying of a boy, of a little boy, and he went to his mom, said, please, taqillah, please be kind to your son, and take care of him. So he stops crying, and he went back and heard the boy crying one more time. So he told her the same thing, and toward the third part of the night, he heard the boy crying again. So went to his mom, said, you gotta be something wrong with you. What's wrong with your bad mom? The kid didn't sleep because of crying all through the night. So, and she told him, and she does not know that he's Amir al-Mu'minin himself talking to her. Yeah, Abdullah, you're the slave of Allah. I'm trying to wean him, and he would not, he would not take it, because they said, why not? Why not? You could wean him. Said Umar, the ruler at the time, he would not give a financial assistance or allowance for feeding children except when they're being weaned. So they will not give a financial assistance to the parents for children except when they're weaned. So she asked him, how come, this happens? He said, and said, please don't rush, weaning him. Go ahead and continue on your own. He went to pray Fajr, and the people did not make out his tilawah of the Quran because he was so much in crying mode throughout the prayer. And he realized that after he finished the prayer, he said to himself, Ya Ba'sa Omar, oh, you unfortunate Omar. He's talking to himself. Kam qatala min awlad al-Muslimin. How many Muslim kids have you killed, Omar? Because of that. So he went and, back to them, and then he made a general announcement to everybody, do not rush weaning off your children. Let them continue the breastfeeding. We were going to have allowance for every newborn child in Islam. And that since then, it changed the rules in the legislature at the time to issue an allowance for each newborn baby in Islam, that he will have a financial assistance the minute he or she was born. So, subhanAllah, he was checking out on people. He heard the boy crying. He asked his mom. His mom said, I could not wean him. Then realized that at the time where only financial assistance was given to the parents for the kids who have been already weaned. But now the crying of the child made him feel so bad. So he had to go back and make an announcement that, we're going to issue, the minute the baby born in Islam is born, they will be issued financial assistance, regardless, without waiting to the time that they're being basically weaned off, mom's, breastfeeding. So this is an important, aspect of how this faith transferred into actions, and always Omar was an action-based ruler of Islam. This is I have so many more. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll do other episodes, but this is kind of a glimpse or a quick movie or the 3D image of Omar as he went through and making sure that everybody's well taken care of, even that baby who kept on crying.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair,
Nice.
doctor. Now, we want to come back now to the feature thing that we were posted on for this particular program. And this falls right in category with what we're doing. We have a caller on the air right now with us. So we had several callers call while you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. Caller, go ahead and identify yourself. Where are you calling from, and what's your name?
Sheikh, my name is Syed Yahya, and I'm calling from New York.
Okay,
And,
all right. You know what? Each one of us is having to handle all of our own transmission of this, so that's why, whenever you call, I stop to answer the phone, then a lot of stuff that doesn't get happening because there is nobody with either the doctors or with me to help us, and if we get sidetracked, then the whole thing gets skewed out of proportion. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take your comment or question. Go ahead.
No, I have a question. Like I already posted a chat on the chat. Like everybody is talking. What's the Quran is saying? What is by the science? And my search on the YouTube, I saw there is no clash. That is the channel which is I saw like lots of things which is in Quran, which is we don't know that how much the Quran is describing at what is style and what the science is proving. So every part they are discussing about even the marriage of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the black hole. So they are saying like it was possible, but and I would believe it was done. But what the science
well, okay, brother, in the interest of the few minutes we have left on the program, I'd like to just sum up what you just said, that there are a lot of things that a lot of the average people are not really, talking about average Muslims, don't really know, and they didn't really think about it because it doesn't really apply to their daily life right now, and that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. But let me just say something. When we talk about the science, the stars, the moon, and the earth, the only one out of the three that we are really concerned about is the earth. And the whole earth is not a big concern of ours because we only care about where we're at the time. So with that in mind, let's consider that most people are not really going to take the time and effort to elevate their information, elevate their consciousness to try to take in and understand some of these great, huge scientific discoveries. Now, discoveries mean that we discovered it. It doesn't mean Allah discovered it, because Allah already knew everything before He started. So as soon as somebody tries to define God and say, well, God is like this and this and so, they've already gone away from Islam, because we have no actual concrete definition of how big He is, how is He male, female. It's because all of these things are explained in the Quran in a very simple, beautiful verse of the Quran where it says, Lam yalid walam yulad walam yakuluhu kufuwan ahad. There is nothing like Him. He has no children, He has no parents, and He's not like anything at all, anywhere, anytime in the creation. So just get over that, and then get understanding that the Almighty God is the creator of everything that we know and what we don't know. So, and we'll never know all the extents of the regions of the universe, and that He didn't create it for that. So let us look.
Share, my point was only that everyone asks questions through science. But Quran don't need to prove by itself. Quran is a proof.
All right. The scholars tell us, brother.
That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, the scholars tell us, brother, that the science, the real science, is coming from the only one who really knows. So that means Islam is going to have the science. What we discover, quote unquote, discover, is not something new to Allah. Is that true?
Yes.
All right, good.
Yes.
So we'll take that, forward, and then discover for ourselves what these so-called scientific discoveries are really all about. Some of the things that we have in science, we found in Islam, and some of the things that in Islam, we see now in the science. But we don't use science to verify Islam. We use Islam to verify the science. Because, as I was speaking about earlier, when the doctor of Islam, about 60 years ago, said that there was no way that people could go into outer space, he was using an understanding, incorrect understanding of the word sultan. That's what we were talking about earlier. Because if you understand that this is a power instead of a person, then you begin to understand. Because this is in Surah Rahman, chapter 55, verse 33. And it tells, the translation, "O assembly of man and jinn, all of you come together, and you'll go ahead and try to go out of Earth's atmosphere, and you will never go out of Earth's atmosphere, illa bi sultan," that's the Arabic, "except by sultan." And sultan, in this case, didn't mean a person. It didn't mean a position of a person. It meant a power, a great and mighty power.
Yes,
and like we
yes,
buy, we buy our fuel for our vehicles by the gallon or the liter. And as I was talking about when I worked at NASA, they were not delivering through those giant pipes by the gallon. They were going by the ton, the tons and tons and tons and tons of fuel. And that is exactly what we use today to take off. And everybody's seen these blast off of the rockets going up into the air, and those cylinders falling off to the side. Those cylinders that fall off were the ones that had the tons of fuel in it. You got it? So everything that is in Islam either is the criterion that you need to check your science out, or if it turns out that something didn't click, it could just be the interpretation of a person when they tried to translate it, or when they tried to understand something that wasn't common in practice at that time. You got that?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure.
I think you already knew all of that. I'm just going over that for the benefit of our viewers. Because anything that is created, we said this time and again, but anything that's created has to have a creator. And according to the science, and they have diagnosed this, and they have come up with this, and they realize that the universe used to be much smaller, very tiny, and then it expanded and expanded, and it's going out. And they also identify that there was a time when there was nothing in the universe. Good. That is exactly matches with Islam. Everything that they're saying we had 1,400 years ago. So the problem is coming that they just don't want to believe. That's the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So, and I'm so glad that you called in, and I'm glad that you spent some time with us today.
I love to see you on the TV, and you are talking, and you are having a channel. We'll see what we can do. And do you also take the Sheikh, like Sheikh Zakir or somebody else on the channel as well?
Dr. Zakir Naik was with us along with Dr. Bilal Phillips and Dr. Muhammad Salah just about a few days ago. We were on there on Sunday Guidus TV had this special show with them on it, and it came earlier in the day. But yeah, we did have. And Dr. Zachar Naik happens to be a dear friend of mine, and he also is a supporter of Guidus TV, believe it or not. And we support their channels as well. Alhamdulillah. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. And I want to go back now to Dr. Sultan because I kind of left him hanging out here. He's always so patient. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Wa alaikum salam. Dr. Sultan, we just had one of our brothers calling in right now, and I just thought maybe we should come back and pick up where we left off about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I'm very patient in listening because I always remind myself that Allah Ta'ala gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should use in the same ratio.
Be careful. I'm supposed to be the one that tells the jokes around here. You know that.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I know that. I know that. And you are my inspirer. What can I do?
Am I the inspiration or instigator?
Inspirational. And you know what? Your attitude is contagious, you see. So I can't help except being affected by that. So our brother was perfectly right in expressing his points of view and science. You know, there's something when they were talking, I thought about something very interesting. You say Islam teaches about science instead of the other way around. When I was growing up, I was taught in science that sun was stationary, you see, but Quran said that all these things revolve around their own orbit. So that was a conflict between Quran and Islam, could say that the Quran is wrong. But as the science progressed, we saw that Quran was right, we were wrong. So many times, if there is any scientific fact, quote unquote, in fact, contradicts with Quran, we have to visit our science and see, are we right or wrong? And in all situations, the answer will come out that we were wrong and Quran was right. Millions of people over the years have started to find fault in Quran, and they have not been able to. They will come with ambiguous things, and the people who are, for example, Zakir Naik, this is one of his favorite subjects, that people come with a book and see that this is grammatically, this thing is wrong in Quran. He goes and tells look here, this is the current Arabic of this time. When Quran was revealed, it was the standard text to understand the correct Arabic. And that's what people learn Arabic from the Quranic grammar. So it's just a waste of human time and energy try to prove Quran is wrong. That's okay. If you can try to prove wrong and you come with the conclusion and that you're wrong and Quran was right, then you should, next thing is, you should do the right things and believe in Quran and move forward in your life.
Well, I want to add to Dr. Sultan, today was just looking and perfectly to echo what you just said. In Surah Al-Dariyat from 47 to 51, I'm going to just say it briefly. وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has constructed the heaven and able to extend and expand the space. وَالْأَرْضَ فَرَشْنَاهَا فَنِعْمَ الْمَاهِدُونَ. And we have spread the earth, and the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the excellent spreader, and مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And we've created from everything pairs, male and female. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. You should rush and hurry and back to Allah for His mercy. And that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is a plain warner to you. And this is the punchline, وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. And do not worship nobody and make any other ilah or to be worshipped, or God to worship, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only God Almighty, exalted above all others, so do not associate any partner with Him. Verily, and then again, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. I'm a plain warner that's sent for you from Him. So if that really puts the scientific, creation and miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the heaven and the earth and the in-between, and at the end, do not associate anyone to be worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the warning that was sent 1,500 years ago when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind.
All right. Okie doke. I like that. The idea of science and religion is very foreign to most people today. And I understand why, especially in Islam, because there are people who don't want to understand, and then there are people who just don't get it. Along the way of this journey that we have in this short life, we are exposed to certain information that sometimes it agrees with our consciousness, sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that what we think is right or what we think is wrong. It means that we are being tested, and we are being tested by the one who created us throughout the time that human beings have been here on the earth, just for us to see. Not that he needs to see anything. He doesn't need to see anything. He already knows. But we need to see ourselves on the day of judgment as being those who submitted to him regardless of what was around us. If we understood one way or the other way, it doesn't matter. What matters is simply, did you submit? And that's what we all want to do. And that's how we get guided, by submitting to Almighty God. And with that, guess what? We ran out of time again. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Dr. Sultan, thank you so much for being with us.
My great pleasure.
And Dr. Adil, thank you again for taking your time and presenting everything for us. We love that. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair.
Guide us with
Guide Us TV. Yeah, he jumped the gun on me, man. He's way out there. Chuck, that's very nice you sharing this information with us. And now the next time somebody said, you're crazy like a dodo bird, I'll have an idea what they're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we would like to tell us a little bit about the building that we're in right now, and something about, what did they use it for? Was this a fort?
In fact, it was used by the British, who was in possession of the island up to 1968. The